Hello, everyone, and welcome to Dr. Master Marino's Science Fiction Experience. Now, today what we're going to be looking at is 4 science fiction villains and why you like them so much. And ultimately, we're going to get to you like them so much because you get them. So let's dive right into this and look at number 1. So number 1 on our list is going to be Magneto. Now, you dig him for a number of reasons. The first reason you dig him, first of all, he looks cool. And really, when it comes to any kind of science fiction or comic book character, the look is essential. If they don't look right, you're visually not hooked right away and you're out. Because remember, these are images, and these are graphic forms, and so without the visual, it's just never going to work for us. So first of all, he looks really cool. The helmet is just awesome. Let's be honest about it. But secondly, you like the power, the ability to control magnets, the ability to control metal, which is such a strong thing that works for us. But then ultimately, why is it that you get him? Well, you get his motivation. You see, like any good villain, that sounds an oxymoron, but it's really not. His motivation makes total sense to you. Here you have a concentration camp survivor who says the world was wrong. And from his point of view, he's right to think that the world was wrong. Because he saw the suffering, he saw the pain, he saw what happens when you allow governments to go too far, when they treat people who are different in such horrific ways. So you understand why he wants to let people who are different have their own power and do whatever they want to do. So ultimately, you get him. What you question is whether or not his motives are okay, because ultimately what he is calling for is what happened to him, which is an extermination of those who are not like him, and that's what makes him a villain. But there comes a point when you get him, and you understand him, and you're with him until you're not, which, believe it or not, is very Shakespearean in its own way. And so that's why ultimately you dig Magneto. Moving on to number 2. Then, of course, there is the Joker. And what can I say about the Joker that hasn't been said a million times already? And I don't think I'm going to break any new ground here. I just want to put him into the context of what we're discussing in this video. So why is it that we like the Joker? And he's enigmatic in that we don't know where he comes from. Even with the 2019 film, it's arguable that's not really the Joker. And we kind of don't want him to have an origin story. So why do we like him? First of all, we love the look. Clowns are scary. And most iterations that we have seen of him in film and in comic are pretty scary. A few exceptions aside, let's face it, we all understand that the Cesar Romero mustache is kind of comical at that point, but that show is a comedy anyway. So there's the scariness of it and the power that brings with it, even in the comment in The Dark Knight that it's almost more like war paint in this rather perverse way. So why else do we like him? We like him because he throws away the rules. Many people who are drawn to science fiction and comic book, they are rule followers, but they're also not, because they don't like social rules, because social rules hold them down. And they want to be able to be free to express themselves, and they like the idea of anarchy and chaos and to be able to do what they want because the rules have suppressed them for so long. That's ultimately why we get him. We want to be free enough to do and say whatever we want without penalty. We want to be that smart. We want to be that clever. Where are we with him until we're not? We don't know that the violence is necessarily the point at which we should go to, even though there's an innate human temptation to do so. Look at writers like William Golding. They express this idea well in The Lord of the Flies. So for the Joker, for us, becomes this character that we really, really dig, and we want to be him up to a point. But there is a point where it goes too far for us, but we're with him for a really, really long time. Next, we get on to number 3. Thanos. Again, Thanos is probably the most talked about villain in the last several years. The MCU's major success contributes to that. Why are we with him? We're with him because ultimately we understand that his plan makes a certain amount of sense. The idea that there are a limited number of resources, planets can only support so many people. Where are we then not with him? We're not with him in a couple of ways. Number one, his solution is not as brilliant as it sounds because it's ultimately the easy way out. It's instead of worrying about long-term conservation projects, how can we enable our resources? How can we find more sustainable ways to exist? It's let's just wipe out half of our problems. And effectively, it's let's run away from the problem. That's why we're not with him. And there's another substantial reason we're not with him. We're not with him because especially when he snaps that finger, we know he's never going to snap himself out of existence because he thinks he's too important. There's the fundamental flaw in his thinking. When he says, listen, we're going to make this totally random so that it's fair, it's not. Because at some point he puts himself above the trillions and trillions of beings in the galaxy. And that he thinks he is above them, so he doesn't count in. He's not part of that half. But we understand the fear that he's talking about of what if we can't sustain this? And what if there was just a simple problem? And ultimately, it's why we like him, because we like the idea of simple solutions. What if we could just snap our fingers and make our problems go away? But the idea is so monstrous, that's why we can't go with it, because maybe there are better solutions, but we'd actually have to work for those, and that's the challenge. Now we move on to number 4. Number 4, of course, the iconic Darth Vader. He's easily the most complicated of all of them, and that's why we like him so much. Now, his development in 1, 2, and 3 has become a source of tremendous anger and anxiety and, probably people not speaking to each other anymore. I happen to love the arc in 1, 2, and 3. I know a lot of people don't. It's fine. I get it. I get why they don't. I know why I do. He's a complicated character because like all of these people, he just sees the world and how he thinks he can make it better. All of these people think they're making the world better. Whether or not they are is then the arguable point. From a child, he thinks he can fix everything, and mechanically he can. But then he wants to fix people, and he wants to fix the galaxy, and he wants to fix the universe. He wants to fix the Jedi Order. He wants to fix the government. He wants to fix everything, and he just can't fix it, to the point where he thinks he can fix life by fixing death. And you can't do that. And then when he cannot do that, he reverts to a very childish mode in order to be able to try to fix it. And like a lot of us, after he makes the mistake, he just keeps making it worse, instead of just admitting he was wrong and trying to walk away. So he's a character we understand. Then getting back to it, we like him because the look is iconic. It's amazing. The power is tremendous, but he is a deeply, deeply flawed person. But we get that. And then that desire to want to hide behind this mask and hide behind all this power, to not admit where we went wrong because we couldn't just admit we didn't have the power to fix it all. So this is our look then at these 4 sci-fi characters and villains and why we dig them so much and why we're into them and why they rank at the top, because they speak to our humanity, which is really the best of what these characters should ever really do. So thanks for stopping in and listening to us today. We're going to hopefully have some more soon. Have a good day.